All right, my friends, today I want to talk about anemia. This is a very big topic, a very confusing topic, and I'm going to do my best to simplify it for you. Not to give you all the answers, but to get your brain going to maybe do a little bit more research, take a different approach to help yourself get over this and thrive in the long run. Now, most of Western medicine looks at anemia as an iron deficiency. They look at your blood lab, they look at just ferritin a lot of the times and say, your ferritin's high, you have anemia. Your ferritin's low, you have anemia. And right there, we start to really question what's going on. And really what they're testing, what they're diagnosing. Because the bottom line is no matter where your values are, you have anemia and they regulate iron. But the problem is, iron in the body does not regulate iron. Just like calcium doesn't regulate calcium, right? And the list goes on. So when we look at iron in our body and how it's actually recycled, it's quite interesting. The body has an adaptive system, a recycling system called the RES, the reticuloendothelial system, that helps your body recycle 24 milligrams of iron every day to give you what you need to thrive. The problem is how we're supporting our system, what we're putting into our body is affecting how this system works, right? So when we look at this system, it is taking place in different parts of the body. The erythrocyte, which is in the red blood cell, the hepatocyte, which is in the liver, and the enterocyte, which is in the gut. Now think of these sites as buildings. And the building has a front door, a factory in the middle of the building, and a back door. And at both ends of the doors, you have bouncers, and those bouncers need to get paid in order to get in the door, in the building, and out the back door, right? Now, when they go out the back door, they go into the serum, which is the blood, right? Now, what doctors see is you have, think of a seesaw. This is a low end. You have low iron. The problem is they have blinders on. They're not seeing that usually low iron in the tissues, low iron in the blood means high iron in the tissues. Now, first of all, looking at a basic blood lab with the doctor, you're not going to be able to see the true picture. You have to look at and use a full Monty iron panel by request test, and it looks at not only your iron values, but vitamin A, which is retinol, copper, bioavailable copper, which is called ceruloplasmin, magnesium red blood cell, and all these other things that really give you the big picture of what's going on so you can see the other side of the seesaw, so you can take those blinders off. Now, this whole process of iron recycling is regulated by retinol. A lot of us say copper and retinol, and you can say that, but I'm going to explain why we could just say, to simplify it, retinol or vitamin A, that is in animal tissue, is what regulates iron recycling. Iron does not regulate iron. So here's how it goes. You need retinol to convert copper into bioavailable copper, which is called ceruloplasmin. It's a protein. Now, ceruloplasmin does many beneficial things in the body. Many, from activating an enzyme in your cells, you could produce energy, right? To helping you produce and convert thyroid hormone. It brings oxygen to the cell. This is the most important thing. It's the only mineral in the world, in your body, in this universe that can help you activate oxygen in the cell to produce energy, to activate all your antioxidant enzymes, superoxide dismutase, etc. If you don't have bioavailable copper, you can't use oxygen, you can't produce energy. It doesn't matter how you live, what you're taking, what you're eating. It's not going to happen. So retinol is that key factor. Copper plus retinol equals bioavailable usable copper, which is called ceruloplasmin. That is what regulates the iron recycling system. And I'll get into that. But how is it negatively affected? Well, here's the thing. A lot of us are not eating foods with retinol, right? Which is the only place you're going to find retinol is in fat from animal tissue. You're going to find it, of course, in animal tissue, like fatty fish, mackerel, salmon, sardines. You're going to find it in eggs. You're going to find it in liver. You're going to find it, of course, some in meats, and you're going to find it in dairy. The problem is the dairy can't have any synthetic A, retinol palmitate, or vitamin D in it, because then you're not getting the true retinol that you need to convert copper. So number one, if you're not eating these foods, you're not getting the vitamin A you need to convert copper, to support the many functions in the body, support the 9,000 enzymes, support your cell to produce energy, and to support the iron recycling system. Now, what depletes vitamin A in the body? Of course, not eating these foods. Using vitamin D supplementation has been shown to deplete liver retinol. You deplete liver retinol, two things happen. You can't convert thyroid hormone, and you can't produce ceruloplasmin to regulate energy, and your antioxidants, copper-dependent antioxidants, and support the RDS system, iron regulation, right? Other things are like genetically modified foods, high fructose corn syrup, synthetic supplements like calcium, D, synthetic A, zinc. All these things affect how copper is used in the body. So we want to stay away from them first before we just think about, I'm going to take desiccated liver. It's going to do the best thing, but you're eating genetically modified foods. You're taking a multivitamin with a ton of synthetic vitamins in it. The list goes on. That's going to overpower everything else, right? Talk about zinc. People take zinc. Eat oysters. You get more zinc from oysters than taking a supplement. When you take zinc, it causes your liver to produce a protein called metallothionein. That metallothionein binds copper. It's gone, right? Birth control pill blows up ceruloplasmin. It's gone. The list goes on. So we have to stop before we can really go down that path. And that's the hardest piece, right? That's a whole nother topic in itself. But how does ceruloplasmin regulate the RES? That's why we're here. It's simple. The bouncer that regulates how you get in the door is copper dependent. It's an enzyme called hephaestin. It's copper dependent. It gets iron in the building. In that building, there's another protein. It is called ferro-oxidase. What that does is it's copper dependent. It takes ferrous iron, which is dangerous, converts it to ferric, goes out the back door. That back door has another bouncer, which is copper dependent, ceruloplasmin dependent. It has to get paid. It's called ferroportin. Once it goes out the back door, it goes into the blood, A, B, C, and D. It gets recycled. We're trying to simplify it. And that's when you wouldn't see low iron in the blood, right? But if you don't have bioavailable copper because you're retinol deficient, guess what? You can't pay the bouncers. So what happens is it doesn't go in the building, doesn't get through any door, doesn't go out, doesn't go in the serum. So you see low iron in the serum, but guess what? It's high in the tissues because it's not getting recycled. It is that simple, my friends. And this is why we do the full Monty Iron Panel, because you can see where, to simplify it maybe, where their copper levels are at, where their retinol levels are at, and where their ceruloplasmin levels are at. And yes, you need to correlate it with transferrin and ferritin and all these different things. I'm just trying to simplify it for you, right? So what happens when you're retinol deficient, a lot of the times, most common, is you'll see high copper, low retinol, low ceruloplasmin. And anytime you see high copper in the system and low bioavailable copper and low retinol, what does that mean? It means that there's high iron in the tissue. There's a lot of oxidative stress being produced. A lot of pro-inflammatory, things are actually kind of building up the body, like interleukin 1 and 6, NF-kappa B, etc. And this is where all the inflammation starts to brew and starts to come up. And people start to say, I have a copper toxicity. No, you have an iron excess and a retinol deficiency, right? So that's typically what we see in the lab. And when people take D, we see those retinol levels just plummet, right? Because it's been shown in much research, which I'll share on stories, that taking vitamin D supplementation not only depletes renal potassium, but depletes liver retinol, right? So just to summarize, we need retinol to make bioavailable copper, which pays the bouncers so you can actually turn iron into a more safer form so it can go into the serum, get recycled, and we start to see it in the blood. It can be used in the body. Remember, iron, let's say is the chef of oxygen, but copper is the waiter that brings it to the cell. So if we don't have the copper, the cells can't utilize it. And now we have a lot of oxidative stress in the system. So think about that as you're moving through the journey. It's not just about taking, desiccated liver. It's not about eating foods, just about eating foods with vitamin A. It's making sure that you're eliminating things in your life that are depleting retinol, depleting bioavailable copper, or blowing up ceruloplasmin. And then starting this process with food. That's the most important piece. How do we bring food and these natural substances, these fat-soluble vitamins and minerals into our body to support the system so we can start producing thyroid hormone, which is an oxygen sensor, which actually stimulates the liver, which is the powerhouse warehouse that produces ceruloplasmin. You have to get that system going first through the production of T3 before you start even adding supplements. And once that system is going over time through the use of food, through eating our RTM method, then slowly over time you start adding maybe things with vitamin C, because vitamin C contains tyrosinase, which stimulates the liver again and supports it to produce ceruloplasmin. Then later on you can start saying, well, I want to add desiccated liver. Why? Well, now the powerhouse, the system is working. The conveyor belt's working. You're producing ceruloplasmin. So the extra vitamin A that you're getting from desiccated liver can be utilized to produce ceruloplasmin. And the copper in the liver can be utilized and converted. So it's a process. You have to go to first grade, to go to second, to go to third, etc. So hopefully this is making sense. I want to shed some light on this because it's a big topic. It's a confusing topic. If you have any questions, please comment below. Peace.